What's up with the ceasefire? What's up with the markets? That's what we'll discuss today in episode number 23 of my investment journey. But before we get into what happened in the markets, I will, as always, make my trade. And that is a 1,000 euro investment in the MSCI emerging markets, which we put in here. Let's go ahead, let's review it. Looks good. Buy now. And boom, I think we got it. Let's go to the wealth tab. And there we are at 24,500 euros almost. So we're up almost 1,500 euros over the lifetime of this experiment. And yeah, it has been quite dynamic, especially with the recent developments in Iran, the geopolitical situation, the situation on the energy markets, and of course, the reverberations in the stock markets. When we look at the markets in totality, we see that this week was really a week of relief, okay? So the MSCI World is up, the MSCI Emerging Markets is up. Every country, even the ones that were a little bit lagging so far in 2026, they're all up. This is the consequence of the ceasefire, but whether this ceasefire is as reliable as we all hope, that's the million-dollar question. Because in my last video, I said I only believe it when I see it, and there's so much backpedaling with Trump all the time, and he might throw out things that are not even true, okay? So let's recap quickly the situation. On Tuesday, the 7th of April, he put out this appalling tweet or truth message, or however you call it on Truth Social. A whole civilization will die tonight, never be brought back again, okay? Only to just one day later declare that there is a 2-week ceasefire. So this is April 8th. And this was apparently brokered by Pakistan. So the US put out a 15-point proposal. Meanwhile, Iran put out a 10-point proposal. And that's the basis for negotiation. But of course, Trump doesn't want to negotiate. He wants to declare full and complete victory. And that would mean all of his war aims were achieved and all of his 15 points in his proposal are all fully accepted. And Iran now obviously says, wait a minute, we didn't lose. In fact, we even have the leverage here because of the Strait of Hormuz. So they tighten the screws and say, hey, you know what? The Strait of Hormuz remains closed, right? And that's the whole thing that Trump wanted to avoid. But it shows how weak he is in this situation, and it also shows that Iran has the leverage. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance was appointed the chief negotiator here, and he says, don't try to play the US in peace talks, as the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Another guy who plays a role here is Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He says, Israel accepts Iran's ceasefire if the regime opens the Hormuz Strait and stops attacks. But they keep attacking Hezbollah. So Israel keeps fighting Iran's proxy, the terror group Hezbollah, which continues to attack Israel, and Israel, of course, wants to strike back. Now, Iran says, hey, you can't do that, no ceasefire under these conditions, while Netanyahu says, hey, what does this have to do with the other thing? Let me fight Hezbollah in Lebanon while you have your peace talks in Pakistan. But this, of course, doesn't go over well with Iran, and it will be a stumbling block in the peace negotiations. And so now, Lebanon and US ask Israel for pause in fighting. In any case, and like I said, Iran now proposes to collect tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. That, of course, violates international trade norms, but what they want to do is to collect up to $2 million from every vessel that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And that sounds like a crazy high number, right? 2 million just to pass the strait with my boat? Well, we're talking about super large vessels here. Those very, very large crude tankers, they actually have a capacity of 2 million barrels, which means a $2 million toll on a large tanker carrying 2 million barrels of oil amounts to $1 per barrel increase on that ship's oil. So essentially, oil price would go up by $1 per barrel. And if we put that into context, we can see that right now the price is about $95 per barrel. So it wouldn't be a game changer. The ups and downs in the market due to the closure of the strait are much, much more severe. But in any case, this is the situation that we're dealing with. The markets are at least optimistic and they hope that the ceasefire will hold and the peace talks are fruitful. And so, as you can see, all the markets are up nicely, including my portfolio. But there's really nothing that we can do now except wait and see. And no one should pretend that they know exactly what's going to happen because they don't. The only thing a rational investor can do in this situation is to consistently pursue their strategy. And that, my friends, is exactly what I'm doing. So much for the week. That's really all I can tell you at this point in time. Not much to do other than observing what's going on in the market and hope for the best. And I'm gonna check in with you again next week when I make my next trade. Until then, all the best and take care.